Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Aurora's edge, staring at the endless black space through the main window. His eyes were red and tired. Dark circles showed under them like bruises. His hands shook slightly as he held his coffee cup. The hot liquid had gone cold hours ago, but he kept drinking it anyway. 847 days. That was how long he had been awake. No sleep, no rest. Just pills that kept his heart beating fast and his mind sharp. The combat stimulants burned through his body like fire, but they were the only thing keeping him standing. Behind him, the bridge crew worked quietly. They moved carefully around their captain, like people walking near a dangerous animal. Everyone knew Jake was close to breaking. His body was dying slowly, piece by piece, but no one dared tell him to stop. "Captain," Amy Carter said softly. She was his second in command, a small woman with short brown hair and worried green eyes. "The navigation report is ready." Jake turned to look at her. The movement made his head spin. "How long until we reach Kepler Station?" 43 days at current speed," Amy replied. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Sir, you need to rest. The medical bay has cryopods ready. Dr. Hayes says you could sleep for the whole journey." "No." Jake's voice was hard as steel. "I stay awake. I stay on watch. But Captain, no." Jake walked to his command chair. Each step felt like walking through thick mud. "I will not sleep while 50,000 people depend on me." Amy's face showed pain. She had been asking him to rest for weeks. Every day Jake looked worse. His skin was pale gray. His hair had started falling out. The stimulants were killing him, but he would not stop taking them. Ben Rodriguez looked up from the engineering station. He was a big man with thick arms and a kind face. "Jake, the engines are running smooth. The life support is good. All the refugee ships are keeping up. Everything is working fine." "That can change in seconds," Jake said. He sat down heavily in his chair. "The Vorth could attack any moment. They could come through hyperspace and hit us before we know it. If I'm sleeping, I can't protect anyone." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew the story. 3 years ago, Jake had been asleep when the Vorth Collective attacked Earth. He was on a deep space mission, resting in a cryopod while his ship traveled between stars. When he woke up, Earth was burning. Mars colonies were gone. Luna City was empty. Billions of people were dead. Jake blamed himself. He had been humanity's best military commander, and he was sleeping when they needed him most. Now he carried the last 50,000 humans toward safety. He would not make the same mistake twice. "The Vorth ships move fast," Jake said, staring at the tactical display. "They can jump through space in minutes. Their weapons can destroy a planet. If they find us out here, we have maybe 10 minutes to run or fight." "The long-range sensors would give us warning," Amy said. "We would know they were coming long before they reached us. Sensors can fail. Equipment breaks. People make mistakes." Jake rubbed his burning eyes. "I have seen too many good soldiers die because someone was not watching carefully enough." Dr. Lisa Hayes entered the bridge from the medical bay. She was a tall woman with gray hair and gentle hands. She looked at Jake with concern. "Captain, I need to check your vital signs. It has been 6 hours since your last medical scan." "I'm fine," Jake said without looking at her. "Your heart rate is too high. Your blood pressure is dangerous. The stimulants are damaging your kidneys and liver." Dr. Hayes moved closer. "Jake, your body cannot take much more of this." "My body will last long enough," Jake said. 43 more days. That's all I need." "You might not have 43 days," Dr. Hayes said quietly. "You might not have 43 hours." Jake finally looked at her. His eyes were wild and desperate. "Then give me more stimulants. Stronger ones. Whatever it takes to keep me awake. I cannot do that. It would kill you. And if I sleep, it might kill everyone else." The bridge crew exchanged worried looks. They had been through this conversation many times. Jake would not listen to reason. He would not rest. The guilt and fear drove him like a whip, pushing him forward even as his body fell apart. Ben stood up from his station. "Jake, listen to me. You trained us well. Amy can command this ship. I can keep the engines running. Dr. Hayes can take care of the people. We don't need you to stay awake." "You don't understand," Jake said. His voice cracked with exhaustion. "I have seen what happens when I'm not watching. Entire worlds die. Children burn in the streets. Families are torn apart by alien claws. That was not your fault," Amy said firmly. "The Vorth attacked without warning. No one could have stopped them. I could have been there. I should have been awake. I should have been ready. Jake stood up quickly, too quickly. The room spun around him. He grabbed the arm of his chair to keep from falling. Sir, Amy reached out to steady him. I'm fine, Jake gasped. But he was not fine. His heart hammered in his chest like a drum. Sweat poured down his face. The stimulants were fighting a war inside his body, and his body was losing. Dr. Hayes scanned him with a medical device. Her face went pale as she read the results. Jake, you need immediate medical attention. Your organs are starting to shut down. Give me another shot, Jake demanded. Keep me going. I will not help you kill yourself, then I'll do it myself. Jake stumbled toward the medical cabinet where the stimulants were stored. Ben blocked his path. No, Jake, this has to stop. Get out of my way, Jake ordered. But his voice was weak now. His legs shook under his weight. We're taking you to the medical bay, Amy said. Ben, help me carry him. I am the captain of this ship. Jake tried to push past them, but he had no strength left. His body betrayed him. The stimulants that had kept him going for so long finally failed. His knees buckled. The world went dark around the edges. I have to protect them, Jake whispered as he fell. Ben caught him before he hit the floor. The big engineer lifted Jake easily, like carrying a child. We've got you, Captain. We've got you. As they carried him away, Jake's eyes rolled back in his head. For the first time in 847 days, Jake Morrison was about to rest. But he fought it every step of the way. The medical bay was quiet except for the soft hum of machines. Jake lay on a metal table under bright white lights. His body looked small and broken. Dr. Hayes moved around him quickly, checking his pulse and blood pressure. Amy and Ben stood nearby, watching with worried faces. His heart is beating too fast, Dr. Hayes said. The stimulants have damaged his nervous system. If we don't act soon, he will die. What can we do? Amy asked. We need to put him in a cryopod. The cold sleep will slow down his body and give it time to heal. It's the only way to save his life. Ben looked at the row of cryogenic pods along the wall. They looked like metal coffins with glass tops. He won't like this. When he wakes up, he's going to be angry. If he wakes up angry, that means he's alive, Dr. Hayes said. Right now, that's all that matters. Jake's eyes opened slowly. Everything looked blurry and far away. He tried to sit up, but his body would not obey. Where am I? You're in the medical bay, Amy said gently. You collapsed on the bridge. Dr. Hayes is taking care of you. I need to get back to the bridge, Jake said weakly. The ship. The people. The ship is fine, Ben told him. I'm watching the engines. Amy is handling navigation. Everything is under control. Jake tried to stand up, but his legs would not move. Fear filled his eyes. I can't feel my legs. The stimulants damaged your nerves, Dr. Hayes explained. Don't worry. The feeling will come back. But you need to rest now. No rest, Jake whispered. I have to stay awake. I have to watch for the Vorth. Dr. Hayes prepared a syringe with clear liquid. Jake, I'm going to put you to sleep. Your body needs time to heal. If you don't rest now, you will die. No. Jake's voice was barely a whisper, but it was full of terror. I can't sleep. Not again. Last time I slept, everyone died. Amy took his hand. It felt cold and thin, like bird bones. Jake, we need you to trust us. We can protect the ship while you rest. You don't understand, Jake said. Tears ran down his face. I see them when I close my eyes. All the people who died while I was sleeping. Children calling for help. Families being torn apart. Blood in the streets. Those are just memories, Dr. Hayes said softly. They can't hurt you anymore. They hurt me every night. Every time I try to rest, I see their faces. I hear their screams. Jake's breathing became fast and shallow. I failed them once. I won't fail again. Ben moved closer to the table. Jake, you didn't fail anyone. The Vorth attacked without warning. No one saw it coming. I should have seen it coming. I'm a soldier. My job is to protect people. Jake looked up at the ceiling with empty eyes. But I was sleeping in a metal box while worlds burned. Dr. Hayes filled another syringe. This one would make Jake sleep whether he wanted to or not. Jake, listen to me. You have saved 50,000 people. You got them off Earth before the Vorth destroyed it completely. You are a hero. Heroes don't sleep while people die, Jake said. Amy squeezed his hand. Heroes know when to trust their team. You taught us everything we know. Now let us take care of you. Dr. Hayes moved the syringe toward Jake's arm. He saw it coming and tried to pull away, but he was too weak. Please, Jake begged. Don't make me sleep. I promise I'll be good. I'll take the medicine. I'll eat the food. Just don't make me sleep. I'm sorry, Jake, Dr. Hayes said. This is the only way. The needle went into his arm. Jake felt the cold medicine flowing into his blood. His eyelids became heavy. The room started to spin slowly. No, 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 Jake mumbled. Have to stay awake. Have to watch for enemies. We'll watch for you, Amy promised. We'll keep everyone safe. Jake's eyes closed against his will. His body relaxed on the table. For a moment he looked peaceful. Then the nightmares began. Dr. Hayes, Amy, and Ben carried Jake to the nearest cryopod. The machine was already prepared and waiting. They placed him inside carefully, like putting a child to bed. How long will he sleep? Ben asked. 40 days, Dr. Hayes said. Maybe more. His body needs time to heal from the stimulant damage. Amy looked down at Jake's face through the glass. He looked younger when he was sleeping. The lines of worry and pain were gone. Will he be okay when he wakes up? His body will heal, Dr. Hayes said. His mind? That might take longer. The cryopod sealed with a soft hiss. Cold mist filled the chamber around Jake's body. His breathing slowed down until it was barely visible. The machines began their work, keeping him alive while he slept. I'll monitor his vital signs, Dr. Hayes said. The computer will watch for any problems, Amy nodded. I'll take command of the ship. Ben, can you handle the engines alone? No problem, Ben said. Jake taught me well. The Aurora's Edge will keep flying. They left the medical bay together. Jake slept alone in the cold darkness of the cryopod. But even in sleep, he was not at peace. In his dreams, Jake walked through burning cities. The sky was red with fire and smoke. Bodies lay in the streets like broken dolls. Children cried for their parents. Parents searched for their children. Jake ran through the nightmare, trying to help everyone. But every time he reached for someone, they turned to ash in his hands. Every time he tried to save a life, 10 more people died behind him. You were sleeping, the voices whispered. You were sleeping while we died, Jake wanted to explain. He wanted to tell them he was sorry. But in the dream, he had no voice. He could only watch as the world burned around him. Then the dream changed. Jake found himself standing in a place that was not quite real. The ground beneath his feet looked like stars. The sky above him was filled with swirling colors that had no names. Voices called to him from the distance. They were not the voices of the dead. These voices were different, older, stranger. They seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Jake Morrison, the voices said. We have been waiting for you. Jake looked around, but he saw no one. Only the strange place between reality and dreams. Who are you? Jake asked. In the dream, his voice worked again. We are the ones who watch, the voices replied. We are the ones who guard the spaces between worlds. I don't understand, Jake said. You will, the voices promised. When you are ready, you will understand everything. The strange place began to fade. Jake felt himself sinking deeper into sleep, but the voices followed him down into the darkness. Rest now, Guardian, they whispered. Your real work has not yet begun. Jake opened his eyes, but he was not in the cryopod anymore. He stood in a place that made no sense. The floor under his feet looked like it was made of liquid starlight. It moved and flowed like water, but felt solid when he stepped on it. Above him there was no ceiling. Instead, swirling colors danced through what might have been sky. Books floated in the air around him. Thousands of them. Maybe millions. They opened and closed their pages like birds flapping wings. Words spilled out of them and hung in the air like glowing dust. Jake could read some of the words, but most were in languages he had never seen. Where am I? Jake called out. His voice echoed strangely in this place. You are between, said a voice behind him. Jake turned around. A figure made of pure light stood there. It had no clear shape. Sometimes it looked like a person. Sometimes it looked like a tree made of stars. Sometimes it was just brightness with no form at all. Between what? Jake asked. Between sleeping and waking. Between life and death. Between what is real and what could be real. The light being moved closer. We are the keepers. We have been waiting a very long time to meet you. More light beings appeared around Jake. They came in all sizes and shapes. Some looked almost human. Others were completely strange. One looked like a crystal that sang when it moved. Another was just a cloud of golden sparks that spoke with a voice like music. Why have you been waiting for me? Jake asked. I'm nobody special. I'm just a soldier who failed his people. You are wrong about that, said the first keeper. You are very special. Special enough to be here, in this place that exists outside normal reality. Jake looked around at the floating books and dancing colors. This is all a dream, isn't it? I'm still sleeping in the cryopod. Dreams are real too, said a keeper that looked like a butterfly made of flame. This place is as real as your ship. More real in some ways. The crystal keeper sang a note that made the air shimmer. We must show you the truth about your enemy. The beings you call the Vorth. The space around them changed. Now Jake stood on what looked like a battlefield. But instead of ground, there was only empty space filled with stars. Ships floated everywhere. Some he recognized as human vessels. Others were strange and alien. This is the first battle between humans and the Vorth, the flame butterfly said. 3 years ago. Watch carefully. Jake saw the Vorth ships approaching. They were dark and twisted like metal bones. They moved fast through space, heading straight for the human fleet. Jake remembered this battle. He had read the reports. The Vorth had attacked without warning and destroyed half the human ships. But now he saw something different. The Vorth ships were not attacking. They were trying to communicate. Lights flashed on their hulls in complex patterns. They sent radio signals toward the human ships. They were trying to talk to us, Jake whispered. Yes, said the first keeper. But humans did not understand their language. The Vorth communicate through shared thoughts. They tried to warn you about the real danger. What real danger? The space around them went black. Completely black. Jake could not see anything, not even his own hands. Then slowly tears began to appear in the darkness. Through the tears, Jake saw things that made his mind hurt to look at them. Creatures that existed outside reality. Things that had no shape because shape was a concept they had destroyed. They moved through the tears like poison flowing through cracks in a wall. The Devourers, said the Crystal Keeper, its voice full of fear. They eat universes. They consume entire realities and leave nothing behind. The Vorth knew they were coming, the flame butterfly explained. The Vorth have fought them before on the other side of the galaxy. They came to warn all the species in this region. Jake felt sick, but we thought they were invading us. Yes, and while humans and Vorth fought each other, the Devourers grew stronger. They opened more tears in reality. They consumed more worlds, the darkness faded. Jake was back in the library of floating books. But now he understood why the books were there. Each one contained the story of a species that had faced the Devourers. How many worlds have they destroyed? Jake asked. Billions, said the first keeper sadly. Entire galaxies have gone dark. Stars have been snuffed out like candles. And it is getting worse. Jake picked up one of the floating books. It fell open in his hands. Inside, he saw pictures of a beautiful world covered in crystal cities. The people there looked like living gems. But in the last pages, everything was black, empty, gone. Why are you showing me this? Jake asked. Because you have a choice to make, said the Crystal Keeper. Every few million years, when the danger becomes too great, we choose someone to help us fight the Devourers. Choose someone for what? To become a guardian, the flame butterfly said. To transcend your physical form and join us in the battle that exists between realities. Jake dropped the book. It floated away, still showing pictures of the dead crystal world. You want me to die? Not die, the first keeper corrected. Transform. Become something more than human. Something that can fight the Devourers on their own level. But I would never see my people again. No. You would never see them again, but you would be able to protect them in ways you never could as a mortal man. The space around them changed again. Now Jake could see his ship, the Aurora's Edge. Amy was on the bridge giving orders to the crew. Ben was in the engine room checking the power systems. Dr. Hayes was taking care of the refugees. They all looked worried, but they were doing their jobs well. They are strong, Jake said. Stronger than I thought. You taught them to be strong, the Crystal Keeper sang. You prepared them to survive without you. Jake watched Amy make a difficult decision about the ship's course. She chose the safe path just like he had taught her. Ben solved an engine problem using a technique Jake had shown him. Dr. Hayes comforted a scared child the same way Jake had comforted scared soldiers. They don't need me anymore, Jake realized. They never needed you to survive, the flame butterfly said gently. They needed you to learn how to be brave. You have given them that gift. The first keeper moved closer, but the universe needs you now. The Devourers are breaking through reality in more places. We are losing the war. We need another guardian, someone with your strength and determination. What if I say no? Jake asked. Then you will return to your body. You will wake up in the cryopod. You will live out your life with the other humans, and eventually the Devourers will find them. They will find everyone. Jake looked at his ship again. He saw the children playing in the refugee quarters. He saw families eating meals together. He saw people falling in love and making plans for the future. If I become a guardian, can I protect them? You can protect everyone, the Crystal Keeper promised. Not just humans. Every thinking being in the universe. But I would have to give up being human. Yes, you would become something new. Something that exists in all realities at once. Jake thought about his nightmares, all the people who had died while he slept, all the worlds that had burned while he was not watching. Would I be able to stop the Devourers from hurting anyone else? You would help stop them, the First Keeper said. The battle is not easy, but with your help we might finally win. Jake looked at the floating books around him. Each one was the story of a dead world, but there were other books too. Books that glowed with warm light. Stories of worlds that had been saved, lives that had been protected. How do I know you're telling the truth? Jake asked. You don't, the flame butterfly admitted. You have to choose based on what you believe is right. Jake closed his eyes. In the darkness behind his eyelids, he saw two paths. One led back to his ship, to his friends, to a normal life. The other led into light and change in a fight that would never end. When he opened his eyes again, all the keepers were watching him. Waiting for his answer. Jake stood in silence for a long time. The keepers waited patiently around him, their light forms shifting and dancing. The floating books continued to move through the air like lazy birds. Some were still open, showing him glimpses of worlds that lived and worlds that died. I need to see more, Jake finally said. I need to understand what I'm really choosing. The First Keeper nodded, its light growing brighter. We will show you everything. The library around them dissolved like smoke. Jake found himself floating in space, but not the normal space he knew. This was something deeper, something that existed underneath reality itself. Here he could see the true shape of the universe. It looked like a vast spider web made of light, each strand connected to millions of others. Where the strands crossed, Jake saw galaxies spinning slowly. Stars burned like tiny diamonds scattered across the web. And moving along the strands, he saw the Guardians. They were beings of pure energy, racing from one crisis to another. Jake watched as a guardian that looked like a living storm sealed a crack in reality. The crack had been bleeding darkness into a solar system. Without the Guardians' help, 5 planets full of life would have been consumed. How many Guardians are there? Jake asked. 47. The Crystal Keeper sang beside him. There used to be more, many more. But the war has been going on for billions of years. Some Guardians have fallen, others have grown tired and faded away. Jake saw another Guardian, this one shaped like a tree made of starlight. It was fighting something horrible that had broken through from outside reality. The creature looked like a wound in space itself. It had no real form, only hunger. It ate light and matter and even the concepts that held reality together. The tree guardian wrapped itself around the creature, holding it back while reality healed around the wound. But Jake could see the cost. Each second of the fight drained the guardian's light. Parts of it began to fade and disappear. That guardian is dying, Jake said. Yes, the flame butterfly replied sadly. She is giving her life to save a galaxy. 12 billion stars, trillions of living beings. She thinks it is a fair trade. Jake watched as the tree guardian finally fell. But in her sacrifice, the wound in reality closed completely. The darkness retreated back to wherever it came from. 12 billion stars continued to shine. She was beautiful, Jake whispered. All guardians are beautiful, the First Keeper said. They are made from the best parts of their original species. Courage, love, sacrifice, hope. These things become real power when transformed properly. The scene changed again. Now Jake could see his own galaxy, the Milky Way. It looked sick. Black spots spread across it like an infection. In those spots, stars were going out one by one. Planets crumbled into dust. The darkness was winning here. How long does my galaxy have? Jake asked. Without another guardian? Perhaps 50 years. Maybe less. The Crystal Keeper's voice was full of sorrow. The Devourers have found weak points in this region of space. They are breaking through faster now. Jake saw Earth in the distance. It was already dark and cold. The Vorth had not destroyed it after all. The Devourers had consumed it while humans and Vorth fought each other. Billions of people had simply vanished, dissolved into nothingness. I could have prevented that, Jake said. His voice was full of pain. No, the First Keeper said firmly. You could not have prevented it as a human. Human weapons cannot hurt the Devourers. Human ships cannot reach the places where the real battle happens. Only Guardians can fight them effectively. But if I had listened to the Vorth, then both species would have died together instead of separately. The outcome would have been the same. Jake looked at his ship again. The Aurora's Edge was still traveling through normal space, carrying its cargo of refugees toward safety. But now he could see the bigger picture. Behind the ship, darkness crept closer. Ahead of it, more darkness waited. The safe zone they were heading toward would not stay safe much longer. Kepler Station, Jake said. Will the Devourers find it too? Eventually. They always do. They will consume that system, then the next one, then the next. Until there is nothing left but emptiness. Jake felt sick. All his efforts, all his sacrifice, all the people he had saved. It would all be meaningless in the end. Unless, the flame butterfly said gently, you help us change the tide of war. The space around them filled with images. Jake saw what the universe could look like if the Devourers were defeated. Galaxies bloomed with life. New species evolved and grew wise. Art and music and love spread from world to world like flowers blooming after winter. He saw human children playing on planets that had not been born yet. He saw Amy's great-great-grandchildren exploring distant stars. He saw Ben's descendants building machines that could create new worlds. He saw Dr. Hayes' medical knowledge saving lives across the galaxy. This is what we are fighting for, the first keeper said. Not just survival, growth, beauty. The chance for every species to become something wonderful. And if I say no? The beautiful vision faded. Jake saw darkness spreading like spilled ink across the universe. Galaxy after galaxy went silent. Life ended not with explosions or battles, but with simple, quiet disappearance, as if everything had never existed at all. I would still return to my ship, Jake said. It was not a question. Yes, you would wake up in the cryopod. Your body would be healed. You could live for many more years with your people. But I would know the truth. I would know that everyone was doomed. Yes. Jake thought about Amy taking command of the ship with skill and courage. She was ready to lead. She did not need him anymore. But she deserved a future. All of them did. What would happen to me if I become a guardian? Jake asked. The Crystal Keeper sang a complex melody. As it sang, Jake saw himself changing. His human body dissolved into light and energy. His consciousness expanded until it could exist in multiple realities at once. He became something vast and powerful and strange. But he also remained himself. His memories stayed intact. His love for humanity, his determination to protect the innocent, his guilt over past failures, all of these became sources of strength instead of weakness. You would be you, the flame butterfly explained. But more than you, able to see and do things that no human could imagine. Would it hurt? The transformation? No, it would feel like waking up from a long sleep. Like remembering something important you had forgotten. And after that you would join us in the eternal battle. You would help hold the line against the darkness. You would protect not just humans, but every thinking being in the universe. Jake looked at his ship one last time. Amy was reading reports on the bridge. Ben was singing while he worked on the engines. Dr. Hayes was tucking a child into bed in the refugee quarters. They looked happy, safe, at peace. They don't need me to survive, Jake said quietly. But the universe needs me to make sure they have a future. The keepers moved closer, their light growing brighter with hope. Jake closed his eyes and thought about all the worlds that had died while he was not watching. All the people he had failed to save. All the children who would never grow up if the Devourers won. Then he thought about all the worlds that could live. All the people who could be saved. All the children who could grow up in a universe full of light and wonder. When he opened his eyes, Jake's decision was clear on his face. Tell me what I have to do, he said. The moment Jake spoke those words, everything changed. The library of floating books began to glow brighter. The keepers moved in a circle around him, their light forms singing in harmony. The sound was like music, but deeper than any music Jake had ever heard. It reached into his soul and began to change him from the inside out. Are you ready? The first keeper asked. Jake nodded. I'm ready. Light erupted from the keepers and flowed into Jake like liquid fire. But instead of burning, it felt warm and peaceful. His human body began to dissolve, but Jake was not afraid. He could feel himself becoming something larger, something more complete than he had ever been. His consciousness expanded beyond the boundaries of flesh and bone. Suddenly, he could see in all directions at once. He could perceive dimensions that humans had no names for. Reality revealed its hidden layers to him like a flower opening its petals. Jake felt his connection to his physical body break completely. Somewhere far away in the medical bay of the Aurora's edge, his mortal form took its last breath. His heart stopped beating. The machines around his cryopod began to sound alarms, but Jake was no longer there to hear them. He existed now in the space between realities where the real war was being fought. "Welcome, Guardian," the Crystal Keeper sang. "Welcome to the eternal vigil." Jake looked at himself for what he had become. His new form was made of pure energy that shifted and flowed like controlled lightning. He could shape it however he wished. Sometimes he looked almost human. Sometimes he was just light and power with no physical form at all. "I can feel them," Jake said, his voice now carrying harmonics that touched multiple dimensions. "I can feel the Devourers trying to break through." "Yes," the flame butterfly replied. "And now you can fight them." A tier in reality opened near them. Through it, Jake saw one of the Devourers pushing against the barriers that held it back. The creature was horrible to look at. It had no real shape, just hunger-given form. It consumed light and matter and even the concepts that made existence possible. Jake moved toward the tier without thinking. His new instincts told him what to do. He reached out with hands made of starlight and began to weave reality back together. The tier started to close, trapping the Devourer on the other side. The creature fought back, sending waves of pure destruction toward Jake. But Jake was no longer vulnerable to such attacks. His guardian form absorbed the darkness and transformed it into light. The tier sealed completely. "Well done," the first keeper said with pride. "You learn quickly." Jake felt a surge of satisfaction. For the first time in years, he had protected someone without losing anyone else. "How many more are there?" "Many. But we are no longer alone in this fight." The space around them filled with other guardians. Jake saw the storm being he had witnessed earlier, still fighting to hold back the darkness. He saw new guardians he had not met before, a creature that looked like a galaxy in miniature, a being of pure sound that spoke in colors, and dozens of others. All of them welcomed Jake with joy and relief. Another guardian meant another chance to win the war. "What do I do now?" Jake asked. "Now you help us hold the line," the first keeper explained. "The Devourers are breaking through in 17 different locations. We need every guardian we can get." Jake felt himself pulled toward the nearest crisis. A solar system with 6 billion inhabitants was under attack. 3 Devourers had broken through the barriers and were consuming planets like a disease eating healthy tissue. Jake arrived at the battle in an instant. The local guardians were overwhelmed. A being that looked like a living constellation was trying to hold back 2 Devourers at once. Another guardian, shaped like a tree made of crystal, was weakening as it fought the third creature. Jake threw himself into the fight without hesitation. His new powers flowed through him like a river of stars. He grabbed one of the Devourers and began to pull it away from the dying planets. The creature writhed in his grip, trying to dissolve him with waves of pure entropy. But Jake held on. He remembered every person who had died while he was unable to help them. He remembered the children on his ship, depending on him to keep them safe. He remembered Amy and Ben and Dr. Hayes trusting him to make the right choice. All of that human love and determination became power in his guardian form. The Devourer in his grip began to weaken. Jake pulled it away from reality completely, banishing it to the empty void where it could hurt no one. The other guardians rallied around Jake's example. Together, they drove back the remaining Devourers and sealed the tiers in reality. 6 billion lives were saved. "You fight like you were born to this," the Constellation Guardian told Jake. "Your species has strong hearts." Jake looked back toward his own galaxy. He could see the Aurora's edge still traveling through space. The ship looked so small from this perspective, but he could see every person aboard. Amy was on the bridge receiving reports about Jake's condition from Dr. Hayes. Her face showed worry and sadness. Jake wanted to comfort her, to tell her that he was all right. But he could not. His new existence was beyond the reach of normal communication. Instead, he did something else. He reached across the dimensions and touched the ship's communication system. For just a moment, he was able to send a message through the ship's speakers. "Amy," Jake's voice said softly through the bridge speakers. "This is Jake." Amy looked up in shock. "Jake, where are you?" The medical bay says you're... I know what the medical bay says. I'm not there anymore. I'm somewhere else now, somewhere I can finally do what I was meant to do. I don't understand, Amy whispered. I found my real purpose, Jake explained. I spent so long trying to protect everyone as a human. But humans have limits. Now I can protect everyone without limits. Tears ran down Amy's face. Are you dead? No, I'm more alive than I've ever been. And Amy, I finally understand what rest means. It's not stopping the fight. It's knowing the fight will continue. Will we ever see you again? Jake felt a moment of sadness for his old human connections. But it was a clean sadness without the guilt and fear that had haunted him before. Not in the way you remember me. But I'll always be watching over you. All of you. I promise. The communication faded. Jake pulled his attention away from the ship and back to his new responsibilities. There were more battles to fight, more realities to protect, more lives to save. Time passed differently for Guardians. Jake fought alongside his new companions for what felt like centuries. He sealed tears in reality, banished devourers back to the void, and saved countless worlds from destruction. Meanwhile, the Aurora's Edge reached Kepler Station safely. The human refugees built a new colony on a world they named Morrison's Rest, in honor of their captain who had given everything to save them. They never knew that Jake still watched over them from between the stars. The colony grew and prospered. Amy became an admiral, leading humanity's expansion into new solar systems. Ben designed engines that could travel between galaxies. Dr. Hayes developed medicines that extended human life by centuries, and through it all, Jake protected them. Not just humans, but every thinking being in the universe. The eternal war against the Devourers continued, but now the Guardians were winning more battles than they lost. Jake had finally found his rest, not in sleep but in purpose, not in ending the fight but in fighting the right battle. He had become exactly what the universe needed him to be. In the space between realities, surrounded by his fellow Guardians, Jake Morrison smiled with the light of stars and knew that he was finally home.